Hey folks, while we weather up our SD50, we've entrusted our little test train to a unit that doesn't run very much, our Great Northern F7. We'll let him run around a little bit while we take care of Mr. SD50 here. And as our train rolls through Oregon City, getting to stretch its legs a little bit, usually just sits in front of the roundhouse. We're going to go below to the underground layer of the work area. We're going to work on the SD50. First we're going to do is renumber it to I think the 5511, just so it don't have the two engines identical running around. So when I turned this that one of those high-speed, cheap Southern Pacific dummies into a running dummy unit, I bought a set of microscale decals for it, and I'm going to use these just to change the 5510 to the 5511. I'm pretty sure you guys all know how to apply decals, so I'm not going to bore you with that. Okay, we got our decal on, and we're going to do just a little weathering. So those of you that have watched my other videos know that one of the easiest ways that I weather is just some black craft paint. I'm not one of these guys that pulls everything apart and uses a spray gun and does all this. I mean, these engines are only this big, and I set them up for my own viewing and to look decent, not concourse edition like when I did muscle cars. But one of the easiest ways, and I've already done a little bit here, is just a little black paint rubbed onto your finger, and then just kind of smush it around on a little paper, because you can always add more. Less is more. Start a little bit. And these engines never looked like this except the day they left the plant. So we're going to just darken up our bottom stripe a little bit. In Denver, Rio Grande Western was a coal hauling road, and their engines got black and dirty. And so we're just going to kind of take the sheen off of that right there. Nothing fancy. Do the same thing on the stairs, snowplow. We're going to add some other, that got a little heavy there. We're going to take care of that. I'm not going to change the numbers up here because making that 5511 is just going to be crazy. They're so small. I'm not going to worry about that. I'll go to the other side. I'll do the same thing. We're just dirtying up that bottom stripe a little bit. Okay, then I'm simply going to take one of these small little brushes and take just a little of the black, and I'm going to rub it around here. Then I'm going to take a little, I don't know, you want kind of, they're like a miniature Q-tip. And we're just going to move over the big speed letter Rio Grande a little bit. Nothing too radical. It's just going to take off some of that sheen. We're not painting it over it or anything, but we're just going to take a little bit of that craft paint. We're going to move it all around, get it off of there, down the walkways a little bit. I'm just going to kind of smush it around. Happy little trees. Happy little smushes. Nothing radical. Maybe a little bit more up around the front truck here. Now that's a pretty clean pilot on the rear. So we're going to use some of these other tools here in a second. But nothing nothing crazy. But I don't think you have to have $100 worth of equipment and spray guns and all that just to give your engines a little bit of weathering. Just a little bit on the stairs there, because they certainly weren't clean. We're going to put a little grime here with our other tools on in a minute. You can always add more, and with this kind of paint, if you get too much on, just put a wet paper towel on it and bring some off. Nothing really exciting. One of these days I'm just going to put on another door from another engine or another paint scheme, because, I mean, that's prototype. You've seen them. Drop that into the slipper. So already it's looking just a little bit more used, a little bit more prototype. And you can always go back when this dries and add a little bit more. Okay, so for now we're going to put that away. I've got these marking pens from Model Master. They're mud, rust, and grime. They're kind of all the same color to me, but if you layer them on, I think you get a fairly good representation of some different things. Get a little on the fuel tank here, up on the plow and the pilot, because they certainly weren't clean. Down here under the pins. Maybe a little bit on the nose. Nothing crazy. Come around here on the rear of the unit, put some of this on. Get this fuel tank. And we'll do more of the fuel tanks too, because on these big SDs, they definitely showed up. Now, I like to put, even though it's a coal road, just a little bit on the trucks can bring out a lot of detail. Just a tiny little brush across. Brings out some of the detail in the truck. Because all you see is just a black blob here. Black everything. So. Alright, so we'll put away our, what color is this? This is mud. Put away that color. We're going to use our rust. And we're going to do a little up top around our exhaust fans. Like a little, remember, stuff goes vertically. So we're going to put a little color on our vents. And maybe just a little bit of line down there. We'll kind of smooth that out. Yeah, our dynamic braking vents. Top. Exhaust fans, just to bring out some of that detail. Get back there, get those radiator vents. Just enough to put a little detail on them. Nothing crazy, just so they stand out from the car body a little bit. And then you can always take that little rust line and just kind of get rid of some of that, but just have it kind of in a vertical. Maybe up by the battery boxes a little bit. Okay, so I'll take care of that. I try not to do too much at once. Okay, now we got grime. I don't know, grime's not shaking around very much, and it looks a little yellower than normal. So We'll get a little bit, just kind of smooth it out on the fuel tank. A little dusty. A little bit up on the cab. Fuel spills go vertically. You want to do that. See, we're getting a little, even from my fingers just on the top. That's fine, you're just getting a little color. Put those vertical and then just kind of smooth them out a little bit, because we're going to finish up with another color there. Anywhere where it looks too much, just take one of your little brushes, just smooth it off. Like here on the top of the short hood. And just a little bit coming down off the top of the cab. I'm just going to smooth that just a little bit. Okay. Then on these fuel tanks, because they are so big, I actually just take brown craft paint, put again like one little drip down. I think that's probably out of the camera, but you get the idea. Just a little bit of that brown. And then that's going to be some of our dirt and mud and spilled fuel and all that on these fuel tanks. So you make a couple of areas there and just kind of smooth that in a little bit. Just gives it a little character. On lighter ones, you can put dark where there were spills. Now also we're going to take some of this brown and put some of that on the plow. A little bit up top for like a little rust. Just going to smooth that around behind the horns. We don't want to make it look terrible because it was built in '84, and when it's running, it's modeling somewhere in the mid-90s, so it's, you know, it's not going to be trashed. But take a little of that extra brown, put on the stripe. Maybe have a little stain running down. Okay, let's bring our Rio Grande up and see how 10 minutes and $0 of weathering, except for the decals. See how that looks. Not too shabby for just the small amount of work I did. We'll see how it looks out on the road. Back to one of our favorite photo locations. When I pulled the shell off, the headlight actually is working. It's just really dim. The snow is melted off. Yeah, 10 minutes of weathering makes it look a lot more realistic. We'll talk to you later, folks.